Hello, everyone. Welcome to Co-Creation Station. This is the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this mystical, miraculous, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name is Collin, and I am located in beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
My name is Stephanie Orlina. I am a transformational life coach, and I'm in San Diego, California.
Thank you so much for listening or watching, or both, however you're are enjoying the podcast here today. We do want to let you know we often mention the names Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks. If you're not familiar with those names, Esther is a speaker and author who channels Abraham. Abraham is described as a group of entities from beyond our physical world who share their wisdom by speaking through Esther at workshops and speaking opportunities around the world. That sounds a little weird, but it's super cool. And, aliens are now a thing, so it's not that weird anymore. You can find more out about Esther and Abraham by searching on YouTube. You can search your web browser, or you can go to their website, abraham-hicks.com. Each week we start our discussion off from a different jumping off point, and this week, I don't know why I'm leaning so much on this episode,
I
but
can't understand why either.
but it is partly that I have the script up at the beginning here. But anyway, Stephanie, you had a suggestion for this week's jumping off point, which I don't even know what it is yet. So I'm excited.
I know, you're so easygoing. I'm like, just roll with it. Click, record. So, you mentioned something in last week's episode towards the end, and I wanted to mention this, and then we never got to it. So about the emotion is the manifestation, because we're always looking, like I'm always looking at the cash and prize, like, oh, I want this thing, but it's so fleeting, right? I get it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, whoo, and then it's on to the next thing, and not even like noticing that that's what's going on. And so I've been hearing a lot of Abrahams, and they're talking about sorry, there's like a siren. I've been hearing a lot of sirens today, this morning, and that if I go for the manifestation, the emotion as the real manifestation, because if I think about, oh, I want, like, my Lexus, I want that Lexus because it's gonna feel so good to ride in it, and it's gonna feel so good because she's so pretty, so how does it feels good? So that's the manifestation that I'm looking for, is the emotion. It's the car that's going to give me the emotion, but it's the emotion that's really the manifestation. And I can go for that manifestation now. I can have that emotion now. Like, the car is going to eventually come, but I can feel good now. And I can find anything to feel good about.
That's the weird, yeah. And I always enjoy the moments where Abraham gets to this, because the reality is that you're right. I mean, if I just handed you let's say a professional athlete, professional American football player, I just handed him a Lombardi trophy, which is the trophy you win when you win the Super Bowl. I just go, here's the Lombardi trophy. You won the Super Bowl. That is not what that football player wants. Like, what he wants is the feeling of going through everything, going through training camp before the season and playing all the games and winning enough games to get in the playoffs, and then winning all the playoff games, and then getting to the Super Bowl and playing really well and winning the Super Bowl, and then getting to the end of the time on the clock. And then that feeling that happens when his brain tells him, you have done all the things that allow you to win the Super Bowl. And now say that. And it's not the trophy. It's not like just,
well, but it is because holding the trophy feels really good.
Oh, right. But only
Yeah.
because you've been through all that stuff, and because how it makes you feel.
Well, and so that's it. It's the feeling, like
Right.
him holding the trophy feels so good,
Right.
and he can feel so good now.
Right.
On any other subject, like we
Right.
can pick any other subject that feels that good.
Yeah, like that's it, and it's essentially I don't know, maybe it's not right to call it a trick, but it's your mind doing that. Your mind is telling you, with all the information that you gather, that, like, oh, this is the Super Bowl trophy, you've won the Super Bowl, so you can feel amazing. And we don't realize that it's possible for us to feel that good on our own without really doing anything.
And that's what that Abraham was talking about in that particular episode, or in that workshop, was that it's really the emotion, and you can feel that emotion now.
Today, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, that's so juicy. So if I go for the emotion, I can feel good now. And so what brings me that emotion? I was, we were talking last week about laughter. Like I've mentioned here before where I did that game that year of like, okay, laughter is a great art of allowing tool. I like to laugh. I'm gonna laugh for 1 minute on Tuesday. And I started laughing for 1 minute on Tuesday. And then I went in for a couple weeks. I'm like, okay, Tuesday and Thursday, I'm gonna laugh for 2 minutes. And I'd laugh for 2 minutes. And within months, I was up to like, because then I'd start laughing, and it's a muscle. Like I'd start laughing, and then I would laugh at myself for laughing. And then I'd laugh even when I have the thought, like, if someone saw me right now in my kitchen laughing, they think I was freaking nuts. That would make me laugh. So then I just it was this, like, talk about momentum. I had built up so much momentum. Literally, one time I was standing in my kitchen I timed it 40 minutes laughing. Like my stomach hurt, my face, my cheeks hurt. And so now sometimes I have to be really careful because I'll be in a meeting or somewhere and it's not appropriate to be laughing, but I'll get into a mood and I can just get on a roll and just laugh. It's like it's a muscle that I've built up. So that is one thing that I love laughing. Like, it's
One
the
of the
best
things
thing
I love
ever.
the most, I have a certain number of minutes on every episode now that I'm required to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Got to fill my quota here. But yeah, one of the things, I'm in this game. It's not the video game version; it is the real tabletop version. But we play online. It's confusing unless you play D&D. But anyway, it's a game where we have people from all over the world. So there's somebody from Denmark, somebody from Germany, somebody from Scotland, somebody from Portugal, and then 3 people in the United States, Florida, Montana, and myself. And
Representing.
one of the things about that game that I love is that the guy in Montana, myself, and the guy in Scotland, we are just chronic jokesters. Like all 3 of us are kind of like, if left to our own devices without any repercussions, we would just make fun of like almost every moment of everything. And it's one of the things I dearly love about that game is we're constantly cracking. Like we do play it, we do take it seriously, and we play the game, as we do anywhere else. But we're also just all cracking. The 3 of us just crack jokes constantly, and the other 4 people are really great, like stand-up comedy audience for us. Like they think we're funny, thank God. Otherwise, it'd be really awkward.
Yeah.
But I just, we play 4 hours every early Sunday morning, and it's just like I just laugh for 4 hours straight. And sometimes I'm like,
Hell yeah.
I'm
Talk
so
about
happy just from,
practicing the art of allowing, feeling
yeah,
good. Yeah,
because I'll
whatever
just
that looks like.
I'll replay, like, oh my God, when he said whatever, like
Yeah.
it lasts, and it's really good for the art of allowing, because it puts me in like this very, very high vibration of not only doing what I love and having fun, but also just laughing through the whole thing, and just, yeah, it's the
And I
best.
heard something the other day, and I do this, it was one of the ones I had saved from All Love, All One, and the woman was saying, like, how I want to know how I did that, meaning a manifestation. Like, how did I manifest that? And I could relate, because I'm like, sometimes, I had a recent manifestation, and I've been seeing this man,
Yes, Stephanie's dating them.
Sam. No, Sam, who
Oh, sorry.
he's from Happy Buddha Reflexology, and I think I on my friend on Sam, my girlfriend, birthday, I took her there and we both got foot massages, and Sam was the one who gave me the massage, and oh my God, I fell in love. So I've seen him every week since then, pretty much. And then about a month ago, it got to the point where I just needed a little more pressure. And I didn't realize I was thinking of not seeing him, or maybe seeing someone else. And then I was capturing like so much stress in my body that I was having pain in certain areas. And I thought, okay, I need to go get like a full on body massage. And so I went to this other place that's, not far from where I live. And I scheduled a 60-minute body massage and a 30-minute foot massage. and I make the appointment on Saturday. I go in on Sunday. And their little lounge area, I thought, oh, it was very attractive. Like, I'm definitely going to sit there after I'm done and just kind of take it all in. And I go to have my massage, and the foot massage was okay, but the body massage, I swear, Colin, I felt like I was getting massaged by a professional. And this isn't one of those professional, like certified, massage therapist, blah, blah, blah. And I got done, and I asked the gentleman's name, and I tipped well, and I went and sat in the lounge, and I was blissed out. Like, I couldn't even move. It was like, and then this young, I thought she was younger, she's closer to my age, woman walked out, and I heard her talking to the receptionist, and then she started to walk out, and I asked her, I said, excuse me, and I started asking her a question, and we chatted for quite a while from there on. But I said, I had David. She goes, oh, that's who I usually see. He's great. And I'm like, I must have taken your appointment. I'm sorry about that. And she commented on how blissed out I was. But I remember thinking later, oh my God, I didn't even realize like I was wanting someone who was, was more pressure, just could get into like certain muscles and stuff. I'm like, how did I do that? How was I feeling the day before? I'm trying to figure it out. And so I hear this Abraham the other day, and they're like, this woman's like, but how did I manifest that? And they're like, when you ask, it is given, period. Like, you don't have to do anything. It's done. And so I allowed it in. I don't know how, I just did. And I was like, oh, that's going to be the way it is for everything. Everything's coming. It's all done. It's inevitable. Chill
It's
out.
funny because I remember on last week's episode you were talking about your deck at your former house with the spa or jacuzzi in it.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned that story before, and anytime you tell that story, it's just so illuminating for me, because from your perspective, you lived through not having a deck, not having a spa jacuzzi on the deck, and all of the steps that it was like you decided you wanted one, and then you wanted the deck and the spa, and you manifested both, and da 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 da. And but like when I met you and I went to your house for the first time, it looked like that house had come with the deck and the spa.
I know.
And you told me the story pretty soon, but it was like, I mean, if you hadn't told me, I would have just been like, oh yeah, this has always just been here.
I know, it's been there for 20 years.
Yeah, and it's one of those things of like, that's the amazing thing about manifestation. One of the many amazing things about manifestation is like, if all you have to do is sort of go into the future a little bit and just believe it the way when it's already done. Like for me, like if I could go see the deck and the spa and then go back in time to 2 years before Stephanie or whatever, and be like, I've seen your deck, I've seen your spa, it's awesome, it's everything you want, like it looks like it's been there forever.
And that's the thing, I think that, like, I always tell people one of my superpowers is I'm able to hold visions for people. Like, I believe in them and I can hold them for them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, what if we did that for each other? Like, what if we did that for ourselves? And it's only my human mind that gets in there, the logical mind, right? The logical human mind. Yeah, but how? But how? This and that. And it's like, no, when I'm in those states of like when I'm meditating and I'm listening to the awesome wisdom of Abraham, and I get into that vortex, and I just like, yeah, it's done. It's done. It is. And I'm in that blissful state, and I believe. And then later on I get into like, I'm not listening to them, I'm just kind of in my everyday life, and I'm looking at what is. And then I get into doubt, or into the hows, and then or logic, and then it's like I'm so far away from believing it. I'm like self-reliant, trying to figure it out myself, forgetting that I have all this power within and around me, guiding me, supporting me, inspiring me, and that it's done. So it's very interesting to, this is both worlds, right, of the physical tangible things, and then the spiritual side. Like, what is that quote you always say? 90, well, this is a different quote, but
let Baron read. 99% of everything that's happening is unseen.
Yeah. So
there's a couple of things that you and I have experienced together, and I always feel like I wish I remembered this more often and we did more things like this. One of them was at my birthday party dinner in San Diego in 2017, where I drove down from LA and met a bunch of my friends from San Diego at the Old Town Mexican Cafe. Is that the
Yep.
name? Yeah.
Yep.
And there was this.
Hashtag Old Town Mexican Cafe, y'all.
Oh, just put the hashtag tacos. We'll just like
Oh,
all the people who want to know about tacos will watch this episode. No, anyway. Um, but anyway, there was this hella long wait, which we did not anticipate, and I don't think they took reservations. So it was first come first serve. So we had to wait, and we told a whole bunch of people from all over San Diego, to meet us at this place. So it wasn't like, oh, let's go somewhere else because we were waiting for certain people to show up. So it's like we're kind of stuck waiting here for a long time. And we started this thing of we went around because there were other people had gotten invited to the extent that not everybody was super familiar with everybody else in the group.
Right.
Like we all loosely knew each other, but some people knew each other better than others. And so we decided as an exercise to go around and to share with the group like one of our greatest achievements that we felt like in our entire life.
Wow.
And we decided consciously that the rest of when one of us shared the thing, the rest of us would applaud and celebrate genuinely, and cheer that person for what they had done. And I think it felt like we had a big group. It was like 8 or 9 people.
Yeah, at least. Yep.
And I just remember going around and doing it, and you could just feel the energy build as one person did it, and then another person did it, and we did the celebration for the person, and then the next person. And it was just like, I just remember that being this amazing, like I just felt my vibration being raised so much in that period.
Yeah.
I learned so much about people, but it's also, I also learned like, gosh, we kind of hide how amazing we are. Yeah. Like, cause I learned stuff about people where it didn't surprise me from the perspective of, I didn't think this person was capable of this, but it did surprise me from like, wow, why don't you talk about that? Like, that's amazing.
Why didn't
that
I
should
know
be
that?
like your calling card of
right.
Hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm the person that did this when I was 22. And they'd be like, that's amazing. I'm glad to meet you, So that was
sounds like a movie clip from an animated movie or something.
I know, it does. But it's just one of those things, like, I don't think I had never done that before that. I've never done it since. And yet it was one of the most powerful experiences of my life. I can say that. The other thing was you and I did a thing one year right after New Year's, I think. We had a phone call where you and I talked about our visions for the other friends. Like I talked about my vision for you, and you talked about your vision for me for the coming year, and all the things that and it was like hearing your vision for me.
Dude, we need to do that again. We should do that as an episode. Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, let's do that as an episode. That's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember like hearing your vision for me. It was like it was really fascinating because number one, it was believable. Like there wasn't anything you know me pretty well, so there wasn't anything there that you were like, well, that's crazy. I don't know where she came up with that. It was like, oh yeah, but it was so much more expansive and abundant than it just was like, wow, your bucket for me is so much bigger than the bucket that I have for myself, But it was like this really good awareness of like, oh, it should be that, it can be, and it should be that big. Like you're not mentioning anything that's impossible or out of the realm, it's like.
And I really feel like I mentioned what I said was things I've heard from you.
Yeah.
And then I just expanded on it.
Yeah.
And then it just when you were saying that, I thought, no, you have it and you know it. It's just that we don't feed it.
Yeah.
And we don't believe it, and we doubt it more, and that's why it feels smaller.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of that from just knowing you. And then what I want for you that I think you would want as well. But yeah, oh man, that is sexy. I love that. And I completely forgot about the part in Old Town of us cheering, like after each person said their thing.
Oh, we were going nuts. Yeah.
Because I remember we were standing next to the light post, and I remember doing that. But when you talked about it, that was not the first memory I had of that, about the cheering. I forgot about that we all cheered for each other after each one said their one thing. And that was super cool.
The funny thing too is like, because of course, as we're describing it, I don't know who came up with it as an idea, but as we're describing it, it's like, okay, then we're gonna cheer the person, and of course, like we're all nice people, we're all capable of cheering. But I remember thinking, like right at the beginning, of like, oh, I hope this doesn't come off as fake, because then that's not gonna,
Yeah.
that can have the opposite effect, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But it was like everything everybody said was so legitimately amazing that I remember cheering the person really genuine. Like I was really like, that's amazing. I was legitimately like, you did that when you were 15 or whatever. Like that's incredible. That's amazing.
And it was super cool because we had built momentum after
Yeah.
doing it like a few
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
because there
Yeah.
was like you said, 8 or 9 of us. And so the more we did it, the more we all got into it. And it was like, oh my God. And I remember, I think myself and maybe some other people, because we were standing on the sidewalk right in front of the restaurant. And so Old Town is very busy with tourists and, locals and such. And I think a couple of us were a little like self-conscious,
Yeah.
being so like, woo. But I remember when we were getting into it, like people were walking by us going like, what are they doing? Like it was very attractive. At one point it became very attractive.
I remember feeling that I had forgotten, but now that you bring it back, my brain is like, yes, because I remember self-conscious, like, oh, we're gonna, because yeah, it's for people who don't know Old Town in San Diego, it's this really cool part of San Diego where it's a lot of buildings from the old West period, like the 1880s, 1890s, and but on a night like that, I think it was a Friday night. It's a very, it's like a hopping social kind of.
Oh yeah, there's like all kinds of restaurants and
family.
restaurants where you drink, and yeah.
I remember very clearly feeling like, oh, we are the fucking weirdos right now. And it's to like, oh, we're the cool kids. Like, people want to know what the fuck we're doing. And I'm like, yeah, because we're doing something nobody else does. But it definitely, yeah, you could feel the energy shift from like, I've had experiences where I'm alone in a city walking by a bar or restaurant, and this group of people is like laughing and cheering, and I have this, little pang of like, oh, I wish I was with some friends having some fun. And I could see on the faces of other people walking by, to my surprise, that they were like, oh man, I wish I was having fun like them. And I was like, oh my God, we're the cool kids. Like,
or what's going on over there? What are they doing?
yeah. So, yeah, I think I think, it's challenging to, we've talked about this all the time, but, how the human brain is somewhat set up to not help us with the art of allowing. It's somewhat set up to look for problems, threats, and dangers, to focus on the negative. Our culture reinforces that a lot. So it is this kind of thing of like, sometimes it's good and healthy and helpful to like, tear yourself out of whatever routine you're in and consciously do a practice of something that's going to raise your vibration like that. Like, let's sit down and let me tell you my amazing abundant vision for you. And I remember the phone call we did. It was like, it was really wonderful. I felt loved, cared for. I felt in alignment on that phone call, but I also felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. It's like, we don't track how much in the course of a day when desires or things that we would like to have in our life, which could be very small, it could be like, I wish somebody would give me flowers sometime soon or something like that. But like the doubt thoughts they can come in so fast, and they can shoot down the desires or our happy thoughts or whatever so quickly that I think sometimes we don't realize it. And then like, that's what that phone call helped me realize. It's like, oh my gosh, like Stephanie's not having those Collin doubt thoughts about Collin's wishes and desires. She's just,
and vice versa.
Yeah, they're flowing. Yeah.
Yeah, you did the same for me.
Yeah.
Well, it was interesting because, and it really is, practicing the art of allowing. It is a practice, and it's a daily practice. And the more I do it, the more comfortable I get. And at first it's hard. I've talked about how, back when I first heard of Abraham, and, they would make suggestions on how to practice, and I'd practice for a day, had these big dreams and desires, and they didn't happen in the second day or the first week. And so I'm like, this doesn't work. But
Yeah.
I always, I like that saying, fall down 7, get up 8. Is I just kept going back to it because I did want those things and I did want to feel better. And then eventually, just it started getting easier, and it's like it became more a part of me over time. It took months and years. But I was telling you in friend time that I was out because it was, raining today, and I was out on the porch or the back deck and just, drinking my superfoods and watching the rain, and then thinking I had some negative thoughts. And then this hummingbird came over to me and just kind of like was right in my space. And it was almost like, no, look at me, don't go to that negative thought. And I just kind of chuckled, and I was like, thank you. And I just was like, oh, you're so pretty. I was just kind of enjoying the moment of that. But I think that's what the art of allowing is, like noticing how I feel. Oh, I feel bad. Oh, it's that thought. Oh, it's only because of that thought. It's an out of alignment thought. Okay, let me think of something that feels a little bit better. Or let me just get off that subject completely because I can't think a good thing when I think that thought. But it was really lovely because then the negative thought came back again, and then a few minutes later that hummingbird came back again. It was such a great, you know, physical experience of, oh yeah, no, look over here, think about this better feeling thought, think about this better feeling subject. It was super right on.
I have
Thanks, hummingbird.
these are kind of random, but a couple of stories I feel like I will forget for future episodes, so I got to get them in. One is, so I am on OkCupid right now, the dating site,
I'm
and
not gonna talk about his dating life.
I know, right? Just saying.
Love it.
But I had to chuckle because I think you've been on OkCupid at some point, or no?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
been on a lot of them.
This thing where you can answer like infinity questions about
Oh my
yourself.
god, it's crazy, 1,000.
It does this comparison with when you click on somebody else as a potential match. It gives you this percentage of how much you line up, which includes like your interests and everything, but also the questions, the answers to the questions. And I clicked on this one woman, and 'cause I think she had liked me. It's really confusing. OkCupid has all these different aspects now, but anyway, I think she had liked me, so I clicked on her to see if I would like her and we would match or whatever. And we had like a crazy high. It was like 97% compatibility or something, and she looked very pretty. And I was like, wow, this is fantastic. And so I click on her profile, and it's like everything. I'm like, yeah, everything is. I'm like, wow, this is great. I'm definitely gonna message her. Blah 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 blah. And I get over to the right column, which is like behaviors and stuff, and it says, um, smoke cigarettes heavily, comma daily.
Oh my god, no
I, was,
way. Oh
I just
shit.
started laughing because I was like,
Wow.
that is a one. I may be
Wow.
97%. That last 3% is a total deal breaker.
Right? Yeah, I know. I know.
That's for a while. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to let go of in my life. And there's just nothing against anybody who does still smoke. It's like I couldn't be around someone,
You know what I actually thought you were gonna say? Oh, maybe I shouldn't say that here. Okay. Nothing.
But it was just funny to me because like now there's two different ways I can look at that. One is, oh, there's nobody out there for me, blah blah. But really, what that is like I must be getting close,
Yeah, right?
So
Yeah.
but I also think that is a little bit of a negative thought, or negative vibration I put in there somewhere in the past about,
I can't have everything I want.
if they had everything I want, they'll have one thing I don't, so
Yeah, 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 yeah. I hear you.
another thing I wanted to share really quickly was earlier this morning, actually, the Dungeons and Dragons group that I mentioned earlier, I think, um, where we have like 4 people in Europe and 3 in the United States. Um, we showed up, and the guy that runs the game in Scotland just did not show up, and we didn't have any messages from him. We tried messaging him
Wow.
in different countries, so it's like nobody can call his cell phone. But And after 30 minutes, we just sort of went, you know, hopefully he just overslept or something, you know. Um, it turns out that the guy that ran the game had let us know, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, that this was his 10th anniversary, I think, and he was spending the whole day with his wife, and he was not going to be able to play. And he just didn't give us a reminder, and we didn't track it, so it
Got
was
it.
totally fine. But the thing was that we didn't know that the folks that were on the Zoom like meeting. Um, but we just like D&D so much that we just like I was like we just talked about how much we like D&D and how much we appreciate each other, and people that had been playing in this particular game longer told the newer ones of us funny stories about what happened before we joined. And like I remember when we got off after 30 minutes, we were all kind of like not wanting to get off, you know. It's like we were kind of hoping that the guy would, you know, come back on because we had enjoyed the 30 minutes. And I just thought like, yeah, man, like you can have any, like if I just told you like, oh, there's something fun that you like to do every week, and this week you're going to sit around for half an hour and the guy that runs it isn't going to show up, so you're not going to be able to enjoy that thing. Most people, myself very much included, will be like, that's going to be a negative experience. I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be disappointed. And like I logged off and went to bed feeling so happy. Like I was like,
Mm,
we didn't get to play D&D, but like we just like, you know, reveled in the fact that we love D&D and we love
yeah.
the guy that runs it and he does such a great job, and we're sure that it's going to happen next week, so it's not a big deal. And I was like, wow, you really can look at life in these two different ways, you know. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful that for me, for that, I'm like, oh, I'm just looking at like great people. I got to know them better. We had laughs, you know. That was a 30 minutes really well spent. I think, you know, 10 to 15 years ago, before I knew about the law of attraction, I would have viewed that, you might, if you and I had been friends, I would be complaining about that today.
Right, right. Yeah,
I got
yeah,
stayed up late and this guy never showed up, and
yeah, yeah.
if you're just open to, you know, if I can get my vibration, you know, in a high state and just be open to whatever happens, like even if something like doesn't work out right, it can be a wonderful happy experience that I can still enjoy, you know.
Because you really got the essence of what you wanted from the game, right? In a 30-minute period, which is connection,
Yeah,
enjoyment.
laughs.
Yeah, yeah.
No. So, all right. Well, great discussion. Thank you for that topic, Stephanie. We want to thank you. Oh no, I closed my script document by accident. Okay. Well, thank you so much for listening or watching or both, whichever you did. We really appreciate you supporting the show. We hope you enjoyed the episode this week. We truly appreciate you doing whatever your platform allows you to do to support the show. At this point, in August of 2023, we are still producing a new show for you that goes live every Monday morning. So you can set your alerts or whatever if you want to do that. And all our links and our email address are down in the doodly-doo below in the YouTube version of this. We hope you have a very abundant and happy week, and we'll see you again next week on Co-Creation Station. Bye, everybody.
Hi.